Okay. And then this does, we'll call the 2 Fahrenheit, and it will start at 0. It'll go, I think, 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, but not 100. Remember, range, this is the max value. Range stops just before the max. Here, let's run it and see. Okay, so all the values are all hard coded here. So we run this, and sure enough, 0, 40, 80, 120, 160, 200 in Fahrenheit, and it gives you the Celsius equivalent. And then Celsius, 0 Celsius, 20, 40, 60, 80, and it gives you the Fahrenheit. Now, we're going to use this as a module because I've run this. It's not a real module. Modules are in a separate directory. I'm not quite sure where it is. There is no module called temperature.py, but because I've run it, it is floating around in memory. Okay, so we're going to pretend it's a module and use it very shortly. Gosh, it's already 12. Okay, so that was the output we got when we ran that. Okay, so we're going to import it. This is a good place to take a break. Okay, let's, I've got 12:19. Why don't we come back here at 12:30? Is that okay? So everybody can stretch their legs. Let's do that. Okay, I'll see you back here at 12:30. So modules. Okay, we ran temperature py and it's floating around, so we can use that as a proxy for a module. We'll look at some real modules shortly. So if we let's find leave temperature up there, go here to the idle shell. We say import temperature. Notice it turns orange. Import is a reserved word. And then we want to find out, get some information about what that module does. It's not really a module, it's a program, but we're going to overlook that. Say help temperature. Because it's not really a module, it gleaned this information just simply from the page that we ran, right? If you look at the slide will say we have lots of other stuff, including some descriptions and better definitions of the functions. Most modules do have that. We'll look at one, okay? But all it knows is what was on that one page. Okay, let's import a different one. Let's say import random. Random is one of my favorite modules. This is a real module. So we import random, and then we say help random, and we get this arcane little message, squeezed text, 642 lines. So you got to double click on it, and it will open up. Excuse me just a second. We'll open up, tell you the name of the module, give you a URL where you can find lots more documentation. Then it will define, I think these are objects, I'm not sure, maybe classes, give you, no, these are, I'm sorry, these are functions. No, they're not. Some of these are functions. Okay, here are the classes down here. Somewhere you've got all the functions that are in here too. And you can see, just as I scroll through this, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of information here about what is contained within the random module, probably more than you really need. But you can see help is your friend. If you want to know how to do something, help will immediately pull something up that will show you. Okay, so see if I can. There. Okay, get back to the prompt. So let's go back. Let's go back to where we were. So what good are modules? Well, I said previously, think of a module as an extension of a function, or more succinctly, think of a module. A module's got lots of functions, okay, but it is, to the best of my knowledge, an entire module is just one Python program, okay, that has functions defined, has classes defined, has other things, other objects that are in that module that you have access to once you import the module, all defined. When you import a module, if you just say import module name, like I did with random, it goes into a namespace called random. So if I want to call a function, once I've imported a module, if I want to call a function in that module, I have to call it by random dot and then the name of the function. And we'll demonstrate this if it's not clear. But you can fiddle, the namespace is optional. And I imported it without one. So it defaults, the namespace has the same name as the module. So when I imported random, it opened up a little section of memory called random, and it stuck random in there with all of its functions. Okay, same thing with temperature. When I imported temperature, it created a workspace, or a namespace as it's called in Python, called temperature. And the functions that were in temperature, which included 2 Celsius and 2 Fahrenheit, I can call directly from the console, from the shell, the interactive shell, but I have to append the name of the namespace to it, right? Temperature dot 2 Celsius. 2 Celsius was a function defined. It's right here, right? Here's 2 Celsius. Okay, so I can call this function. It's floating around in a namespace called temperature. So I can call it by this. I can say temperature dot whatever it is. Here, let's try it. So I'll go over here to, so I say, okay, so I want to call an individual function, and it's in the temperature namespace. So I say temperature dot, and then the name of the function, 2 Celsius. Got to spell it right. And say 100. Is that boiling, I guess? I'm not sure. So this is going to, let's see what happens. Okay, so 100 Fahrenheit is 37.77 Celsius. Or I could convert something into Fahrenheit, right? I could call that function too, because it was in the temperature module, but I have to say name of namespace, which has, and notice these little things pop up, which are really handy. It looks in there when I do that and put the period, it knows what I'm doing. And it looks in there and says, well, what functions are in there? And there's 3, main, 2 Celsius, 2 Fahrenheit. So this, this helps, it's a little labor saver. We'll say 25 Celsius, which I think is pretty warm, is, 25 Celsius is 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so you can access functions that are in the module. If you don't want to have a big long namespace like this, because the namespace simply defaults to the name of the module, you can shortcut it, right? I could say import temperature as temp, and let's just do that real fast. And as is optional, or I could let's shortcut it. I could say import temp temperature as T, so I don't have to type as much, right? And then if I want to call a function in there, let's do Alt P, and we'll go back to here. If I want to call the 2 Fahrenheit, and let's change the value to make it interesting, 35, but it is still floating around in temperature, but it's also in a different namespace now called T. So I could just do this. So 35 Celsius is 95 Fahrenheit. Okay, so you generally you don't want to just import the module and leave this out, because why don't you just import all of these into the global workspace? It doesn't let you do that. If you don't give it a namespace, it names one for you, which is the same as the module name, or you can give it some shorter one, but it does not let you load the module into the global, the top level workspace. And the reason is, you start loading, and you see this in R as well, you start loading modules, eventually it's likely that you'll have the same named function in 2 different modules. And if they're floating around in the same space, then you get a problem. When you call the function, it does, the way there's an order to, you might not get the function you want. If you have 2 functions floating around in the same namespace, you get a collision of that. So you want to define where you put it. Okay, and again, a namespace is just an area of main memory that holds a module. So that's pretty simple. Now, okay, this actually does. You can import it into the global works namespace. I misspoke, but you don't want to. And we're not importing, note what we're doing here. We're importing individual functions, not the whole module, right? We're saying from module name, import this function, and you have to have at least one function, but you can have many of them separated by commas. This will not import the entire module into the global workspace, but it'll import individual functions into it. And again, you want to avoid this because, with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 functions, you're not going to have this problem. But if you do this all the time, you pollute the global workspace, and you get stuff floating around in there that you don't want, that has the same name. Okay, so importing one function into the global namespace is fine. And then you can call them if you want, or you can import all of the functions of a particular module into the global namespace with the asterisk. Asterisk is a wildcard, means everything. So import all of the functions. Okay, so we don't have to belabor that, I don't think. Okay, so here's another program. Let's look at this one. Kind of extends it a little bit. And this is in your programs folder. And it looks like this. Convert temperatures. Okay, so let's run it and then we'll look at it. So we run it and notice it prints out these instructions. It says you can choose. If you choose 1, it will allow you to enter a Fahrenheit number and it will change it to Celsius. Or if you put in a 2, Fahrenheit is misspelled, it will allow you to enter. 1 gives you Celsius to Fahrenheit, and 2 gives you Fahrenheit to Celsius. So let's say 1